Nifty, we saw a correction of about 20% earlier this year. And Scott, you could maybe correct me on this, but I think Bitcoin was around 100,000, maybe a little over 100,000, fell back to what, 79 or something like
74? Yeah, 74 or 7.
So it was about 25% drop. So if we were to go to 10,000 on Bitcoin, I mean, is the market down 70, 80% at that point in the stock market? Or do you think it would decouple in that way?
Bitcoin Zella stands out with its simplicity and clarity. We've crafted an experience that anyone can dive into, whether you're a crypto expert or just a new to the crypto world. Now guess who keeps his eye on us? The author of best-selling book Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. And we want to take this opportunity and thank all the people who trusted us, and we read every comment. And the best part, it's free. Subscribing now means you will get all new information for free. Don't just follow the trends, stay ahead of them. Subscribe to Bitcoin Zella today and enjoy the new edge.
Gareth Soloway explains how the Fed's decision could spark major moves in crypto and Bitcoin. Let's dive in together.
Bitcoin's not going to $10,000. I don't know. Sure. I can't. I know that Mike Disney believes in it. I just yes. I mean, if Bitcoin was $10,000, then I don't even know where I'm getting my drinking water.
So that's a very profound statement, because I made the same call in 2018 and I got 70% of the call. I said it loses zero and went from 10,000 to 3,000. But that's the key point now. It's so inconceivable for that. So I am making the call. I've been to her, that we're overdue for another 50% drawdown in the S&P 500. And I need to show you how that stuff happens. This is just a chart of gold divided by S&P 500 ounces of gold. When the Fed started easing in 2001, you wanted to be short the S&P 500 long gold. It just collapsed. Again, same thing. Fed started easing September 2007. Same thing. You wanted to be short the S&P 500 long gold. Even when we started easing here a little bit in 2019, now we're starting to ease and it's just starting to roll over. Hopefully it's different this time. Hopefully McGlone's wrong. I just pointed out gold seems to be maybe we'll get through the rest of the year. It's fine. That's why I'm worried about this next 3 months. Will just be pretty significant. Let's put it so we cannot
so far. That would just be like 10,000. It's like a bigger drawdown than the most volatile early days with Mount Gox. It would be so bad.
Well, I think the idea would have to be a worse situation than 08, 09, right? I mean, essentially you're talking about...
It would have to be a double. It would have to be worse than 1930. And that it could be. I'm just saying, but that situation, you would have to have the Bitcoin or 10,000. You would have to be
water from.
Yeah, you would have to be in a deep, deep Great Depression for Bitcoin.
Let me show you something here that I found interesting. So here's a chart of 2007. Well, basically 2006. The housing market topped. Housing prices topped here. This was in basically late 2005, 2006, early 2006. The first Fed cut came September 18th, 07. The market went a little bit higher afterwards. If I zoom in, we could see, this is a weekly chart. So there were 2 weeks of upside, and then the markets obviously saw the financial crisis. If you look at the recent data, housing prices topped out in 2023, about two and a half years ago. All right. Now, granted, in different areas, it might have been a little different, but certainly in the South, in Florida, prices have already started tumbling. And the Fed on September 17th, 1 day prior of the month, made their first big cut here for this cycle. Just pointing it out, interesting that the labor market hadn't swung into a negative yet back here when the markets were at this point where the Fed cut. We were still kind of seeing jobs numbers, which were lower and weaker, but we hadn't gone negative yet. Same thing right now. And so, again, it doesn't necessarily mean the same thing occurs over and over again, but it's just interesting to watch as the same sort of things kind of happen again, right? I mean, you see margin rates at all-time highs. Credit card delinquencies are now above the 08, 09 levels. Now, granted, you have a bifurcated economy, right? You have people that don't have investments that are absolutely struggling, and they've been in a recession for a couple years. And then you have other people that have lots of investments and they're living like they're kings, right? I mean, their money just keeps exploding to the upside. But again, a lot of similarities with 08, 09, just before 08, 09. Thoughts?
Bitcoin and gold, are they overheated or just starting? Big insights ahead. Let's watch to uncover. Bitcoin's climb to $118,000 at the end of the week was short-lived, as the leading cryptocurrency slipped to $115,200 on Saturday morning before bouncing slightly to $116,000. The move came after a volatile week that saw the Federal Reserve finally cut interest rates, fueling a temporary rally. BTC had surged more than $7,000 from last week's lows, but resistance near the $118,000 zone sparked heavy selling pressure, halting momentum. Despite the pullback, Bitcoin's market capitalization remains above $2.3 trillion, though its dominance over altcoins sits just under 56%. The weakness has spread across the wider crypto market, which shed more than $50 billion in a single day. Ethereum has dropped below $4,500, Dogecoin is down over 3%, and Chainlink has fallen 5%. XRP is clinging to a key support around $3, while Solana, Avalanche, and Sui also slipped into the red. The steepest declines came from smaller players, with M crashing 16% to $2.2. MYX losing 12%, and Pang dropping 7%. Sentiment remains fragile as traders weigh whether Bitcoin's dip is a brief pause or the start of deeper corrections.
Why I'm expecting a lot of cryptos to drop to zero. I've been wrong. I'm just waiting for that catalyst. And the key difference with that peak you show there, certainly 2007, is market cap to GDP was like 1 and change, 0.2 or so. Also, a big difference. You see this. I love when people say there's high cash levels. They were very much higher. Now, the typical money market account, they show like it's worth about, these money market measures around $7 trillion. The stock market cap is 70 trillion. So it's about 10%. In 2007, right before the great financial crisis, that level was closer to 14 to 15%. So cash levels are very low. You have to put in context of how expensive the market is. I'm afraid of just it's something that might pop that bubble, and that leading in educating for everything. That's why I started is cryptos, and what's the hottest one out there is MicroStrategy.
BlackRock has made another bold move into the digital asset market, purchasing $390 million worth of Bitcoin and Ethereum. The investment giant, which manages trillions in assets globally, has been steadily building its crypto exposure, and this latest buy highlights just how seriously it views Bitcoin and Ethereum as long-term investments. With this acquisition, BlackRock further cements its position as one of the largest institutional players in the space. The company's crypto strategy accelerated after the approval of spot Bitcoin ETFs in early 2024, which opened the doors for traditional investors to gain easier exposure to digital assets. Since then, BlackRock's holdings have soared, now including nearly 765,000 BTC alongside growing Ethereum positions. This expansion showcases how institutional demand is no longer just a future narrative. It is already reshaping the market. By actively adding billions in value across Bitcoin and Ethereum, BlackRock signals confidence in crypto's role within global finance. Its sustained accumulation reflects a shift where major institutions are no longer on the sidelines, but leading adoption through structured products like ETFs and direct acquisitions. If you have been watching so far, thank you so much for watching, and do not forget to subscribe to Bitcoin Zella for daily news all for free. That's all for today's video. Until next time.